I guarantee this rig looks nothing like the thumbnail. That's because this is what it started as, and the thumbnail was the finished product. We are going full junkyard leftover parts throwdown on this thing. Engine leftover from a project that never happened. Chassis, the machine itself, was a freebie. Front tires are left over from a rig called Bouncy. They are so rusted up that the tube is the only thing holding them together. So I can't deflate these. They're overinflated. That's going to suck if we hit some rocks with it. This winch is actually left over from a friend gave it to me after he bought it on Temu, and the controller caught fire in his mud mower when he hooked it up. So we're going to hope that the leftover Temu 4,000 pound, yeah right, winch ends up working for us. I mean, look at these Fairlead rollers. Yeah, 4,000 pounds. Whatever, Temu. Anyways, we're going to put one of these controllers on it. These are awesome. I'll post a link for these. I carry at least 2 or 3 of these around the shop at any given point because they're just unkillable. And if you do manage to kill one, the awesome thing about this is if you smash that with a rock out on the trail, you can hotwire it and be able to use the winch still, unlike a lot of other controllers. Now, tires, they are 27 12/12s that were throwaways off of a side-by-side. As you can see, I have tire sniped them very, very aggressively. This is my favorite thing about ITPs. Personally, I can't stand ITPs, but they are freebies all the time from the side-by-side guys, because the moment they lose this, then you hit highway and they just go tunk 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 tunk, and they're horrible to ride on. So we end up with them for free. So we've sniped the snot out of those. I mean, check these out. 27s, 20, 27, 20. Yeah. I am hoping to rip all of this off, get rid of the gas tank, humchuck the gas tank out of there, drop the whole seating assembly down to sitting on top of the pump. This is basically a 440 Duromax. This is actually a dual fuel, and I left the propane connection just in case I ever need it in an emergency. But on the back here, I would like to have a storage box. I'm not intending this rig to be extremist. I am intending this rig to be a working around the yard, throw a chainsaw on the back of it and go do stuff, haul a cart, and go play and help recover other people type rig. So I want to take this HIPAA carburetor box that they sent me. Big time shout out and a thank you to HIPAA Carburetor. If you need a carb for your small engine stuff, do a Amazon search for HIPAA and then the engine. These guys are awesome. Been working with them for 3.5 years now. And so we're going to see if we can mount that back here in order to be able to have storage, junk in the trunk space. We've got to do the brake flip, so we've got to take that and we've got to flip it out. We've got to extend the forward, and we've got to create a leverage point on the reverse that is stompable. So this goes down like that normally, but the problem is if you sit yourself lower, then your stomping comes from this direction. And so what you have to do is take this off and make an extension that goes this direction when you push on it. The same for this. The problem is it wants to go that way, which is all well and good when you're sitting up and you go down like that. But when you convert it to sitting lower, then you need to be able to push this direction on it. So what I do is I cut this off and I bring it forward so that way it rotates as you press on it. The brake is then in the way, because if your toe is going like this, then you don't want to be hitting the brake while attempting to go forward. So we slice this and we spin it 90 degrees. And yes, that means that the brake reads backwards, but whatever. If you don't know which is which, you shouldn't be on the machine. Anyways, if you want to see the retrofit video on this, go ahead and check the description. I'll put a link for it. I see people commenting about these rear fenders in a bunch of different lawn tractor forums and stuff, so let's cover this. There's going to be a 7/16, a 7/16 on both sides. Those are easy to get to. And then you take out the 1/2 inch there, and you take out the 1/2 inch there, leaving the springs in place. Then you go to lift it off, and it doesn't want to come off. Here's the thing. Right here, on both sides of the tunnel, is going to be another 7/16. But it's inside the frame rail, and the head of it is at an angle like this. So when you stuff your head in underneath the tractor, you're going to see a little tab coming off of there, and you've got to reach up over the top and put your wrench on top of that, and then use an extension to thread up through everything to be able to get the 7/16 off. And then you can choose whether it ever goes back. On another note, this is our new Seesii sponsorship. This is their new 3/8 300 foot-pound impact. It comes for a $100 bill with a 4 amp 21 volt battery, brand new on the market, just came out about a couple of weeks ago. So they got a hold of me because Kaimo, these are cool. They're like 80 bucks, but they're about, I don't know, 180 or so foot-pounds on a good day when you first buy it. These skills, when they first came out, were like 150 bucks, 150 foot-pounds maybe. I mean, these were massively over-marketed on their foot-pound. Everybody proved that was wrong. But this is awesome. I've been using this now for about a day and a half, and it is every bit as strong as they say it is. A $100 bill comes with one battery. It fast charges in about an hour or so if you totally kill the battery out. Very good product. There we go. Loose. Now, what you want to do is tip it and then go that way with it in order to clear those two. So I can't really do that one-handed. One thing about these Cubs that's different than a lot of other lawn tractors is that there are two braces underneath the footwell. So there's a giant piece right there. So I can step up on this and bounce on it, unlike other machines. So that's a big plus on these as far as doing custom fenders on the rear, which is what we're probably going to do. There's a good chance that I'm going to slice that thing and then space it in order to cover those tires. We'll see. Right now, we've got this gas tank. We're just going to reef on it and roll it forward here. If you ever have one of these and it refuses to go into reverse, no matter how many times you adjust that, they like to build up, yep, this one's got it. They like to build up stuff right behind where the valve goes. So if it won't go into reverse, check and see if that needs cleaning out. And you can access that from the bottom. It's just easier to do right now while we're in. So that's where our drive comes in. Underneath that is the motor. The motor goes in here, goes to the gearbox. This is your case vent. This is your fluid fill. And this is your bypass here. So if we pull that all the way out, then we bypass it and we can roll this thing around. I noticed earlier while working on this that somebody had been deleting safeties. And I'm okay with that. So the reverse is deleted, the brake switch has been deleted, the seat safety has been deleted. But what I'm not okay with is the brake rod that should go to that tab right there being deleted. I don't know why that's missing, and when I push on that and then I push the machine, I don't seem to get much out of it. Which means the crappy part for tomorrow is that transmission has to come out because you can't get the brake cylinder open without taking the transmission out. Baka. We're out here. It's next day. I got thinking about it. And almost every workaround I have found in this machine has been because they were either bypassing an irritant, or they didn't decide to go and clean something up correctly, or whatever. So, I got down in here, I sprayed that all full of stuff, I blew it out with the air compressor, I cleaned every bit of the caca that was in there out. It was atrocious. And now, the brake works. But that still leaves me in the case if I have no brake rod. There's supposed to be a spring, a rod going through the frame, and then an adjuster. But what I did realize is that Cub Cadet and MTD are basically one and the same. So, this is what came out of it. And this is the parking brake, and I can't remember what that one is, out of a Bug, a yard machine. You know, the $1,000 Walmart-y things they used to go and sell a few years ago. So I figure that if Cub Cadet owns MTD or is part of it, those are the same. And they are. So I think we're not going to worry about the spring. I think we're just going to make it just plain out brakes or brakes, because I tend to be a drive-by-the-throttle person anyway. Some tractors have signs that they lived a hard life, some more than others. I've been looking at this, thinking it's wrong. The angle is way too high the entire time. I just realized this entire rear hitch plate has been ripped off this machine at some point, and they re-drilled holes and moved the whole shift plate up. It's ripped out all the way around both sides. What in the world did they do to this poor thing? So if you have all of your cruise control junk removed, that is where your brake lever goes in. That goes through this hole, welded together, there, strong spring, lever in the back. We should now have brakes. Oh, I get questions about parking brake. Parking brake is right here. So when you push down your brake, this goes forward. When you push that down, it locks into that clip right there. So if you have a machine that's had it used quite a bit, that piece is rounded off. There's a notch right there, and then it doesn't work right ever again. Test drive obviously would be better with a locker, but I think we used up our seating arrangement for this video, so now we need rear fenders because we're gonna get some mud on it. To be really honest, I am not a fan of the big booty Judy looking rear on these Cubs. I just have never liked it. Whatever you want to call the arch rear end on these things, I've just never liked. I like crisp cut, solid, flat bar rear ends. It's just my thing. So what I think I'm going to do is, I like that potentially as being the seat drop down location. I got a friend of mine who rides right on that with a pad, and I've been debating whether that might be the way to go. Maybe building a bar for a backer of some sort that bolts into those holes. but you get the idea. I think what I'm going to do is plasma cut this line right here and a matching line right there, and then drop this on, and then graph that once I slice it in half to cover the tires. The other thing is this, I mean, whatever this is made out of, I can bend with my bare hands. That old school Craftsman GT metal, I can't bend. So if I get wonked and I get rolling around and I grab onto something, I want something solid to grab, not flimsy. Well, let's see just how stupid this looks. So, Big Booty Judy is off. And if you grab that one. And if my calibrated eyeball is correct, if we plus or minus cut it a little bit, I think I can make that work. There we go. Now you can really see kind of the idea that I had going on here. I needed to get out over the tire further and up and out so that it'll clear the mud if we get into anything. So I've got to plate the inside of those where they come down. I'm going to keep it as the 3 pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3 here. And the reason for that is because I haven't quite decided what to do about the back. If we swing around here, I really would like a toolbox mounted. Now, whether I mount the toolbox up here or whether I sink the toolbox down in to be between the tires, I haven't quite decided yet. But I also would like to have something for me to lean back on. So maybe some sort of hoop in here that's padded. I'm not quite sure. The other problem is that if I push down on this, well, you can't see it very well from that side. Let's try this. You can see it flex. So I welded this bar across the back because we took out the bent piece here that gave it structure. And I'm going to have to put some mounting tabs down to the frame that I'm going to make sure are bolt on. Otherwise than that, I think we're doing pretty good. Hopefully this will get done tomorrow morning and we can start on the front to be able to put a skid plate and a winch mount. And in a perfect world, we would also build an undercarriage skid plate for the oil filter that's on this transmission, because that's a vulnerable part in these. This is my GT you guys have seen me plow with over on Redneck Computer Geek many times. This is the GT that I picked up that had an engine fire that we revived in a long ago video. But basically I picked it up in order to build a version of this plow tractor, because the deck is shot and therefore I do not need a bull bar on the front of it. So I'm thinking, since we already violated the Cub Cadet with some GT6000 parts, let's violate it with some GT3000 bull bar. You can't really get much more go for it than that. Given a little love, it fit right into the frame rail of the Cub Cadet. Now, we can definitely make a deflection plate that comes down and goes into there without too much of an issue, just like we did on John's. The winch can live in a safe location, and this will act as a slight deflector as far as the engine is concerned. The real reality is I would love to have some sort of protection bar right about here. Maybe we could cage the engine in something that hinges easy off of there in the future. But as it is right now, we just need Road Warrior worthy. So finishing up the last of the crossbar here, which now has tabs that run down and are bolted in. Everything is removable so that I can break it all down to frame at any point that I need to. But while we're here, I wanted to show siping in the tires and what's the point of it. If we look up here, you can see it's all starting to fall out because as the tire flexes, it lets go of all of the stuff in it, and it allows it to flex and contour to grab things. So ITPs are great in mud holes, but they suck on the rocks as far as I'm concerned. But if you go out of your way to sipe out a set of ITPs so that they can flex and contort onto things at low PSI, then they do great in more rocky terrain. I still would never decide to like really rock crawl in them, but it makes them more universal. John's currently checking out the new Seesii and says that the auto stop function makes it no fun. It's 220 or so foot-pounds worth of in, and it's 300 foot-pounds worth of breakout. What do you think about the weight of it?
I like it.
You like it? You think you could use that?
I think so.
Yeah, the LED is absolutely stupid bright at night. Anyways, I'm finishing up the winch setup right now because that was my next must-have that I got to get done. I wanted to point out a few things here. Just learned over the years, and there's a reason why the old timers do it that way. One learned over the years is that in underneath here, I bring this piece so it extends under the front lip of the fairlead. And the reason being is because these bent locations here are not very strong. In fact, actually, on a lot of these, I'll weld a tiny diamond right here if I intend to, or triangle, sorry, if I intend to plow with these because they'll bend them. The other thing I wanted to point out is that you'll see these rolled over like that, which looks kind of Mickey Mousey stupid, but it's actually for a reason. If you're all covered in mud and your hand slips, I can roll my hand over that rolled over end all day. But if I slip my hand over that nub sticking straight out, yeah, every time you screw your hands up in the middle of the woods is something that can kill you. So I take the extra time to roll those in. Just some old Mainer type knowledge. Don't laugh at me. I'm turning into one of those old fogies that passes on knowledge nobody listens to. Maybe if I rub it, it'll rub some knowledge in. Let's be honest. If this thing goes over backwards, I'm in a hell of a bad situation that no amount of backing is going to save me from. But the one thing that John and I have definitely discussed is that once you put a pad in here, there's only about an inch of lip left. So what we were debating was some sort of pool noodle wrap around, maybe coming from here, wrapping around it to the other side. Now, this is not to save the machine. This is to save me from getting bucked and falling back out of the machine. I don't know. Probably on the paranoid side because this is tipping forward, but I think that's what we're going to do. So I found this piece that already has tabs in it out in the junkyard. I'm going to 90-degree it on both sides, allowing for about 2 inches extra of wraparound for clearance for this. And then that way we can drill and mount the tabs there and then put a couple of drop downs in the back and probably drill and mount them. And there's John sneaking in to pretend he's going to go work on his YouTube channel.
I am.
Is that a Bugs Bunny cup? Do you even know who Bugs Bunny is?
Yes.
You do? Are you an old person? You know Bugs Bunny. The backing bar is wrapped. We made sure that the pad fits in order to make kind of a hammock type idea in there. I know we talked about a universal and tipping this back, but after checking everything, it's actually not that far off where the stock location is. So what we've done is we've taken and grabbed an old wheel bearing out of a Craftsman mower, a 5/8 to 3/4 inch spacer that we tack welded on the inside of it, a piece of cast iron pipe from the hardware store, and a couple of pillars to either side. And now if we grab this and we pop it on here, come on, here we go. We can literally grab and move the entire rig without any issue. So we're gonna let that cool down and then pop the steering wheel back on there and then get working on the skid plate and the oil filter protection skid plate underneath. I wasn't joking about junkyarding as much as possible. This is left over from a couple of pallets. These are actually the lifting deck mechanism that came out of the Cub Cadet itself. The rod is a tent pole. Even the pins are actually left over from setting up decks. And if we flip this thing over all the way, and give me just a sec here, hard to do one-handed. This chunk here is actually the side door off of my old furnace, and that is going to get thrown on and just tack welded all the way down through and then cut off and welded on the front. Junkin'. Do you even have a clue what that tool is called?
A caulking gun?
A caulking gun. Good job.
I read it off the label.
You're a cheater. First of all, never admit that you cheated when it makes you look intelligent unless you get caught. Man, who the hell's kid are you?
Yours?
Anyways, so caulking guns are one of those things that are 95% useless other than the one thing they're good for. Except for that little tabby thing on the end makes a really good hook for kids to use to help you hold things in place when you're welding. So there we go. Skid plate is solid. And John didn't help at all other than holding the caulking gun.
I was here for emotional support.
Emotional support? Oh, so now you're a chihuahua with a badge on it to claim it supposedly can go on an airplane. Because we're sitting so much lower into the machine, we wanted to bring the gas pedal up and around to make for better control. So that is usually located right there. This is the lever for cruise control that's normally underneath the seat. And so we've extended it up and then up a little bit further so that when you install it into the machine, it brings the pedal out about 4.5 inches up. I'll show you it on the machine along with what we did to the brake after I get this all welded together solid. That is certifiably ugly, but we don't really have time to be messing around with anything else. Let me get in the seat over here. So now we have reverse, and if you can't get into reverse, you can tow the reverse. That's why we make it so that this is so big, because then I can tow reverse and I can push forward. So towing reverse, push forward, and obviously giant brake. And I added this so that I can put my heel all the way up onto it. And we even left parking brake intact. So if we push that forward, we have parking brake. There we go. For our next trick, we need some sort of skid bar or plate to protect this. I found this in the junkyard. It's the bottom of some sort of sign or something. So what I'm thinking is that if I cut that so that it goes just underneath that, then I can come off of it and go up and then bind into this crossbar. There's nothing here, and it wouldn't take much to drill a hole and just mount it right there. We don't need anything structural. We just need to deflect and keep this from getting hit, because it's already been hit once and all this thing did was mow grass. Well, probably acted as a skid steer because the whole rear plate was ripped off, but there we go. Ugly with a side of functional and within the budget. Free. Now, if I really wanted to get all professional grade here and stuff like that. What I really should do is I should triangulate off of right about there to right about here, off of right about there to right about here. And I should probably run 2 bars or 3 or 2 bars and a plate right about here. But our goal was free. Grab it out of the junkyard and build something. That's what we did. Why one of these controllers for the winch? Because that is all the line they give you to go to the winch, and that is the ginormous amount they give you to go to the battery. So if you have a rig like John's where the battery is on the rear hitch for weight, you can go all the way through to there and have that on there and have plenty of extra wiring to go around things with. I know kill tethers are not the cool kid thing, but they're really easy to put onto anything that's of this kind of design. GX 390, 340, 420, and 440 all basically use the exact same wiring. So if you get down in here, you're going to see that black wire coming through. That black wire is going to fish itself down in, and you're going to find where it goes, and you're going to plug your white wire into there, and then you're going to take your black for your ground, and you're going to stick it right there. Kill tether. Done. Stupid.